Okay, we're going to look at something called trig equations. When we get to class, we're going to get a bit more detail as to what this stuff means, but I'm going to take you through it mechanically to get going, which should be enough to allow you to do some independently. Okay, so first of all, let me just say that it's a trig equation because it's got a bit of trig in it. That would be sine, cos and tan, and an equal sign, therefore that would be a trig equation. So we're going to solve this one for x, 2 sine x minus 1 is equal to 0. The first thing that we do is we put numbers over to the right hand side. So that minus 1 is going to cross over and change its sign to become positive 1. The times 2 is then going to come down and become divide by 2, and you get sine x equals 1 over 2. So your first move is to get the minus 1 across. That changes its sign to become plus 1. The times 2 then comes down and divides and becomes divide by 2. I've now got sine x equals 1/2. Now, when you arrive at this point, when it's sine x equals, you draw this thing here, which is called the cast diagram. Okay, it's so called because it spells out the word cast, C-A-S-T. Now, S is for sine, C is for cos, T is for tan, and A is for all. And again, when you get back to class, we'll explain that in a wee bit more detail. So the other thing to put in is this cross here. Okay, we've got 0, and we're moving around 90 degrees to 90, another 90 to 180, another 90 to 270, another 90 to 360. Okay, so for sine x then, what we do is, again, this will be stuff that will be explained in more detail in class. We tick off all and sine. Okay, for sine x, we tick off all and sine, and that's going to give us 2 answers. Okay, our next move is to do x equals sine inverse 1/2. So in your calculator, what you're looking to do is hit the shift button. So that might be shift, it might be second function, or inverse, hit that. Then after that, you want to be hitting the sine button. Now at that point, the calculator hopefully will open up a bracket. If it doesn't open up a bracket, put in 1 divided by 2 and then close that bracket and then hit equals, and you should get an answer of 30 degrees. Now, if your calculator is struggling to give you that just now, it means it will just need to be input in a slightly different way, which we could do in class, but try and get it just now. If you can, we'll sort it out in class, but meanwhile we'll take down the rest of the working. Okay, so you should get an answer then, which is 30 degrees. Okay, that is the answer in the all quadrant. Your first answer is the answer in the all quadrant, so that was 30 degrees. Now, to get the answer in the second quadrant, so they're called quadrants because the thing's split into 4 bits. The second quadrant we're looking for, our answer is in this sine quadrant. So you look where you get your 2 ticks. The first tick is in all, that's 30 degrees, and we're looking to get the answer in the sine quadrant. Okay, so we do this bit in our head. So what you do is you take your answer of 30 degrees, and then you find out what that gives you in the sine quadrant. Now the sine quadrant tells you to take away from 180, so that's what that wee line is indicating that you do. So you take away from 180, what do you take away from 180? The 30 degrees. So 180 take away 30 degrees gives you 150 degrees. So again, this will be explained in more detail when you get in class, but hopefully a bit of repetition just now will show you how to do these independently. Okay, so let's just talk through it again. Okay, your first move is to get your numbers to the right hand side. Minus 1 crosses over to become plus 1. Times 2 comes down to become divide by 2. At that point, draw your cast diagram. Okay, at that point, x equals sine inverse 1/2. Shift sine, open up a bracket, 1 divided by 2, close the bracket, equals, you should get 30 degrees. That's your all quadrant answer. You're looking for a solution in the sine quadrant, so for that one you take 180 and take away your solution, which is 30. to get 150 degrees. Let's try an example 2. Okay, so example 2, let's go for root 2 sine x minus 3 equals minus 2. Okay, so my first move is to put the minus 3 across, and that will become plus 3, so that will be root 2 sine x equals minus 2 plus 3, so the minus 3 is come across to become plus 3. That's then root 2 sine x is equal to minus 2 plus 3 is 1. I then bring the root 2 down, divide, and that's 1 over root 2. Okay, so my next move at that point, if I arrived at a similar position as I was here, and then my next move is to draw the cast diagram. Okay, and again I tick off all in sine. Okay, this time the calculator, we're putting in x equals sine inverse 1 over root 2, so again it would be shift and then sine, open up a bracket if it doesn't already open up one, 1 divided by, and then you want to be hitting root 2, close the bracket and hit equals. At that point you should get an answer of 45 degrees, and that is your all quadrant result. Okay, so that's the first result. Now, what does that stuff mean? We'll talk about it in class. Okay, so I'm now going after my second solution. So what did I do here? I get the 30 degrees and I took it away from 180, so I'm going to do the same here, but it's going to be 45 that I'm going to take away from 180 to get 135 degrees. Okay, we're going to try an example 3 then. So, example 3, let's go for 4 sine x plus 3 is equal to 4. So I'm going to bring the 3 across and subtract. That will be 4 sine x is equal to 4 minus 3. So I'm taking the plus 3 across and changing its sign. And that's 4 sine x is equal to 1. Sine x is equal to 1 over 4. Okay, at that point I draw my cast diagram. So by this point you should start to see some repeated pattern of when I do what. Okay, so it's sine again, so it's all in sine. And then it's going to be x equals sine inverse 1 over 4. So that's that. Shift, sine, open up the bracket, 1 divide before, close the bracket, and hit equals. This time we'll round our answer to 1 decimal place, and that will give us 14.5 degrees. I'm then looking for my solution in the sine quadrant. So that's going to be 180, take away the 14.5, which is going to give me 165.5. So again, that's just following a pattern of what I've done in the first 2 examples. Okay, let's try an example 4 now. So example 4, let's go for 5 sine x minus 4 is equal to minus 2. Okay, so my first move is to bring the minus 4 over, and it changes sign to become plus 4. So that's now 5 sine x is equal to minus 2 plus 4, and 5 sine x is equal to minus 2 plus 4 is 2. I then bring the 5 down, divide, and that's sine x equals 2 over 5. At that point, time to draw the cast diagram. Okay, so x equals sine inverse 2 over 5. Again, using that method of putting in the calculator, have a go at that. The first result will be the all quadrant result. We'll round that to 1 decimal place to give us 23.6 degrees. Okay, now I'm going to go after my sine quadrant solution. So again, it's to take that away from 360 degrees, rather take that away from 180 degrees, so 180 take away 23.6, and that will give me 156.4 degrees. Okay, so you've now got 4 examples to refer to. You're going to try these two. Okay, so there's the first one, there's the second one. So the second one, again, your +2 would come across, become -2. There's nothing to divide by in front of the sin x there, so it would be ready to go after that. So we'll have a go at those two, and we'll pick that up on Tuesday.